welcome to the podcast for the SC Hub. We are well in the run home for Supercoach for the year 2024. Joining me tonight, we've got Flash and Cheese. How's it going, guys?
G'day all, how we going?
Howdy.
So, I guess as is tradition every week, how did you guys go this round, and where are you sitting for the year? Start with you, Flash.
Right, I'll go first. 13.59 for the week, which was pretty good. Couldn't work out any Fainu love in there for his 112, I think it was, that he got. So, it was a good score, obviously, compared to the rest, but sitting 43rd overall. So, look out, going to make a late charge.
Yes, sounds fantastic. Cool. Well done on the year. Now, in the green room just before the show, you were talking a little bit about one of our other regular contributors here at the SC Hub, Myth. You're running him down from all reports.
Yeah, well, we've been in a cash together for a few years, and he's been out in front. He's been the carrot to my donkey, chasing him down at the moment. So I've made up a lot of ground in the last couple of weeks, and I do believe he's a little bit worried at the moment. So we'll see. A few rounds to go, you never know. Might catch him up yet.
Yeah. Yep. There's still a lot to play for in Supercoach. What about yourself, Cheese? How did you go this recent round?
Yeah, not as good as Flash over there. 1186 pushed me down to 2500s. Not great, but hey, head-to-head player now. Focusing on the cashies.
Yeah, and I don't even want to really talk about my overall rank. I am now currently sitting at 17,600. So it's not been a good year for Munster Mash, but onwards and upwards. I seem to find a way to dodge all of these high scores each and every week. So I only had a 11-16. Look, them's the breaks. Everybody's going to have a down year. So 2025 will be my year, though. You wait and watch.
You've been a head player for a while, have you?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
You've got it down pat.
Let's just say that I am on the verge of turning this into an NRL mixer podcast. I'll put it that way. Not that I'm doing particularly well on that either. But anyway, on to we're here to talk Supercoach. But first, we'll cover a little bit of admin stuff, talk a little bit about the NRL, and then dive into it, because there are plenty of questions that people want to get answered this week. So, first of all, injuries. They have reared their head again, as they do every year. Payne Haas, Josh Curran, Eli Katoa. That's just the tip of the iceberg. How have you guys dodged much of the carnage, or you've been slammed, save like most super coaches?
Dodged most of it. I had Haas to start the year and sold him a while ago. Haven't owned Curran. I've got Katoa, though. I've managed to dodge most injuries for a lot of the year, which obviously, you got to do that sort of stuff with Supercoach. You got to dodge those sorts of things. But deep squad certainly helps. So with 4 Roosters out and missing Mulatalo and Eli Katoa this week, so things are getting grim. So hopefully no more late outs this week, and should be okay.
Yep. Yes, I'm in a similar boat. I've dodged most of the carnage. I'm hoping, though, beyond all hope, that Josh Curran does play this week. Otherwise, I might have to roll out Sam Hughes. What about yourself, Cheese? How did you go with the carnage?
I haven't dodged any of it. I've said, just bring it all to me.
Whipping boy.
I'm taking it all on board here. I've got 3 Roosters, one which is young, Trindle, E-Cat, Mulatalo. I'm loving life. I wish I was playing draft this year.
Any thoughts on trades this week, mate? By any chance?
I don't want to open my app. I've only got one.
I hear you.
Sam Hughes is starting this week. He's got the call up.
He'll get a try this week.
Off the bench, he's going to have to come home for a lot of super coaches, I think. Look, as we've sort of, alluded to, this does happen every year. And I think we'll see it more as we get closer to finals, because I think a few players will suddenly be like, you know what, let's just go for that surgery, just get ready for preseason. I think we'll see a few more of these teams as teams drop out. We'll see those players. So anybody eyeing up Latrell if he comes back, I don't know. I don't have a good feeling about him being back this year. Now I think he might choose to go for surgery. But I mean, look, this is me guessing. But I guess while the Bunnies are in with a shout, he'll keep playing. And that Roosters game is a draw card, obviously.
I think I read during the week that he's got another possibly 4 weeks in the moon boot. Don't quote me on that. I've been trying to keep up with it, but it looks to me, from what I can see, he might only get the last round in. So could be an Uber pod for anyone who saves a trade up their belt. But we'll see. I don't think he'll be back.
No. And then we've also seen contract season is still rolling in. More and more players are sort of rumored to be looking to get out of clubs. The agents sure are trying to earn their money, aren't they?
Isaac, mate.
Oh dear.
I mean, the latest name I've seen thrown up is Mitch Moses looking to potentially get out of the Eels. This is the silly season's getting started early, so yeah.
Yep. We're in a world of hurt, unfortunately.
Yeah. Take everything with a grain of salt until anything more concrete comes through, and I don't think that'll happen for a little while. But anyway, But we can get that stuff out of the way. We don't really need to talk about it too much. We'll dive into the Supercoach side of things. As we've said, there's injuries galore at the moment, especially for some key players from a Supercoach perspective. We'll start off with probably, I guess, the biggest name to hurt for a lot of people this week is Payne Haas. He's out. He's gone for the season in an already threadbare position. There's not a lot of options to bring him in. And if Josh Curran is out as well, which is looking more likely by the day, it's a few people will be left short. So for those that actually do have trades, do you guys have a name to throw up as a replacement?
Well, look, there's the most obvious one, and he's the most traded in guy this week. He did well last week, Joe Tarpany. He doesn't have a bye the rest of the year. If he's just given the minutes and Sticky lets him fly, then he could be anything. I mean, in a position which the scoring has been rubbish, you need the guys like him or Haas. Obviously, he's out. But May, who's just cruelled me ever since I sold him. I'm a Barnett owner, so I can't complain too much. He's been absolutely fantastic. So, but he's 200,000 or 170,000 more than Tarpany. So the value for me is Tarpany, but it's a tough spot to fill this year. It's just not that much upside there, really, unless there's a few of those 3 or 4 guys.
Yeah. Cheese, what do you reckon? Like, is there any other names? I mean, for me, they're the 2 obvious, Barnett and Tarpany. Is there anything else that you can see that could be an option?
Nah, I think if you're trading Haas, it has to be a Tarpany. I mean, the best attribute right now in this time of season is availability, and Tarpany does have a bye coming up where Barnett has that crucial round 27 bye. So you'd want to avoid that. You'd pretty much just want to trade once in there with Tarpany and just say goodbye to front and forward for the rest of the year.
That's the way I completely agree. However, I do think there is one potential thing there for people that have more than, like, if they've got maybe say 3 or 4 trades, you could look at a downgrade to somebody that's just going to get you a 60 and maybe free up 200K, 300K, and then just ride him home. Mm-hmm. A name that I had a look at earlier today that I don't hate is Daniel Saifiti. He's been a bit of a super coach. I wouldn't say a gun, but maybe he's put out 60s as an average or thereabouts in the past, and he's playing for a contract. So he seems to be averaging about that 60 mark at the moment. So I don't hate it. I mean, look, it's not great. It's not a great trade at all. And I would trade Tarpany and Barnett in way before him if you want the safe option. But look, if you need that little bit of cash, he's only in the 400K mark. So I've got it here. He's 480. So that might be that extra 100K that you might be able to go up to someone if you need to. Like maybe you can get a Toto instead of somebody a bit cheaper in CTW or something like that. So I don't think it's the worst shout, but I mean, there are better ones.
I got a cheaper guy. He's probably, I think he's about 100K less than him. And hopefully it could be the guy who's replacing Haas is Xavier Willison. Again, if Kevy gives him the minutes, he's shown that he's got more than a friendly Supercoach game in him if he's given the time on the field. So, if a downgrading to someone like him gets you an upgrade to, fullback to Ponga or Turbo or something like that, then I wouldn't begrudge anyone doing that one.
Yeah, and he seems to have that game sort of style that he could find a try, which is, I mean, you
Yeah.
barely ever see in front row.
Yep.
So, yeah, that I like that shout. I think it's a good one. Cheese, do you have any other players that in that sort of ballpark that you might like as a bit of a roughie?
God, no. I mean, God, Rillison's enough of a roughie. I mean, I do like Versailles Feast just because of that draw. Just take the safe points, bank for cash, and the draw's quite easy. And Knights won't be resting him, if they'll need him for all the games.
Yeah.
But if Willison can grab the minutes, he's probably one of the best for his age, best line runners for front row forward. Especially close to a line. So if you want someone with that possible upside, he's who you would go.
Yeah. The Knights losing Jacob last week to a calf injury too will obviously probably help Daniel's stocks a bit. I don't know. I don't think the depth is fantastic there. I think they brought Brody Jones under the bench this week, or 18th or something like that. So they're not deep. So you'd hope Daniel could put his best foot forward and do something for the Knights. So they have got a pretty tasty draw coming up. A lot of Ponga buyers out there as well. So you never know. He might be the one to step through and can find the try line.
Yeah, certainly can. Now, look, we've said his name, so we might as well have a chat about him. He is the player that is on. I think he's the most traded in at the moment across the board. Kalyn Ponga. Are you guys? First of all, are you guys bringing him in? I know I personally I've got one trade left, and he's my favorite player in the NRL, Ryan Pappenhausen. I have to go to Ponga. The draw's too tasty for my last trade. What about yourself? Are you guys bringing him in?
Cheese, you go.
I have one trade left, and I really want to bring him in. I'm fighting demons. I had him as soon as lockout ended, straight in my team. You can't pass it up, can you? I mean, I think he's the best buy from a head-to-head and overall standpoint. He's got the easiest matchup in round 26 against the Titans. So if you're in a grand final for head-to-head, it's perfect for you. And just he's able to keep up there with the overall for you. I wouldn't be surprised if he's in my team come tomorrow night.
Playing the Tigers is very hard. I'm going to be hiding behind the couch because I will not be getting him this week. I also have one trade left, and I'd love to save it. Maybe for a move later in the rounds, 25. I'm a Drinkwater owner. Thank you, Myth. Been picking up his scraps. He's discarded Drinkwater, and I picked him up the same week. So hats off to him. That's but he's on his way to Townsville to help Drinkwater with some laxatives, I believe, for this weekend, so he doesn't play too well. But I can't be getting Ponga this week. Maybe last round. I'm going to try and save my trade for the last round, which is going to be chaotic. So one trade could be just so valuable. Playing the Tigers this week, it's going to be a scary non-watch. But if I was going to do it, it might be 25 when Drinkwater has his bye. Other than that, I'm going to be a very scary death ride for Ponga for me.
Yeah, it's. I mean, for me, it's. Look, he's not the Kalyn Ponga of last year. Last year, he was an absolute must-own for that run home. If you didn't, you will definitely have let people know. He hurt you big time. Look, we all know that run of form had got him the Dally M. So that's even in normal NRL. Supercoach, he was something else. He's got the Tigers this week. It makes all the sense in the world.
The thing I didn't like last week was all their chopping and changing with their halves. It's sort of I think it's hurting him a little bit. And I'd love another watch, but playing the Tigers this week, it's a hard watch. But I don't think it's helping them at the moment. Their structure. I don't know what they've got to do. Obviously, there's some unrest there with Hastings leaving and whatnot as well. Price has been in and out. They've got Crossland there now. I don't think it's helping Ponga, but it's Kalyn Ponga. Just give him the ball. That's all I got to do, really.
Yeah, exactly.
You've made a very good point there. Like that was the one thing they seemed to figure out, sort of in that run home. They seemed to settled side.
Gamble and that.
Then everything sort of flowed from there. But this year, Adam O'Brien's done Adam O'Brien things. He can't seem to settle on a spine, and it's sort of been to their detriment. So look, the thing that I guess for a lot of super coaches is there's a lot of people out there that still don't own Tom Trbojevic as well. So the big question, I will put it to both of you. Tom Trbojevic, Kalen Ponga. You can only grab one. What would you do? Flash, we'll start with you.
I'm a turbo truther. I've had him this year. The man's gone to close to 200, if not just over. I think, can't remember exactly. I can't go past him. Manly, pushing for finals, same as Newcastle. The next couple of weeks for Newcastle is going to be huge. If they lose, then they're out. But Manly, if they're any sniff, they're going to be getting him the ball as much as possible, and he's another very scary own. I would love to own him in my team.
Yeah. What about you, Cheese? If you had to pick one, where do you go?
If I had the cash, I'd be getting Turbo in. You're getting that ceiling the same as Ponga, but you're also banking a better base in Turbo in a better team. I wouldn't want to watch Turbo without owning him on his good day.
And they're both a bit of an injury risk too, to be fair. So Ponga's had his HIA issues, and we all know Turbo's issues with hammies and whatnot. So there's risk with both of them. So, it's a tough call.
Yeah, it's right. So I'll read the draws for both of them for the run home. So from round 23 onwards, the Knights have got the Tigers, Sharks, Souths, Gold Coast, Dolphins. Now, I would say that's 3 really good matchups, 2 okay matchups, with the way that sort of those teams tend to be going at the moment. With Manly, they've got Canberra, New Zealand, the Tigers, Bulldogs, and Sharks. So I would say, if anything, it's slightly harder, like maybe 2.5 good matchups. But I would say that, Turbo's been shown better form this year, and so has Manly. So you're honestly splitting hairs.
Do Sharks rest round 27 if they can't change their ladder position? Do they rest?
Exactly.
Nico's due back just after, I think, first week of finals, but who knows? He could sneak back round 27, be an Uber pod for those that are with a trade up their sleeve. Who knows? There's a lot of water to do under the bridge yet.
Yeah. And for all we know, that could be a shootout for 4th. It could be that close. So there's so much to happen over the next few weeks. It's just crazy.
Yep.
It's just crazy. But
bring it on.
Yeah. Now I've got another scenario that I'm going to put to both of you and see what you think, because a lot of people are talking about Ponga or Turbo. Would you consider moving on Teddy to have both of them? Have
you seen their draw?
Yeah. I know, it's
a dangerous man.
Living on the edge. I couldn't get rid of Teddy with what they've got, the way they've looked, the way they can pile on points. He's looked more improved from last year. Sammy Walker's been better than last year. I think all round as a team they played better than last year. They played more individuals rather than a team last year, I thought. But this year, I think if they can click and get it right, they're going to do a lot of damage, and I think Teddy's going to be right amongst it, especially with their draw.
What about you, Cheese? Would you even consider that matchup or that pairing instead of Tedesco at all?
Yes, only for the reason that Roosters could likely rest Teddy come around 27. So keeping that in mind, no, for the fact of thinking her head-to-head finals mind, he has the Titans in 25, so you'll get that great matchup. Ponga has in 26, so you kind of bank those two back-to-back of the times. But then Teddy is also playing Canberra in round 26.
Yeah.
So aside from that round 27 resting, Teddy is number 1 in my opinion, just with the attacking power of Roosters.
And the other thing to just before you sort of go on there, and it's Souths in 27. I actually think if Teddy was to get a rest, I think it might be against somebody like the Raiders in round 26. I think that's potentially where you might see him go.
Oh, yeah.
Possibly, yeah. And then we see them just bring the whole team back, get a good roll on for that first week of finals. I don't want to think about that.
There's so much. I think we could throw out 5 or 6 scenarios here, and we'll probably have them all wrong, and it won't be what actually happens.
They'll get rested both weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll end up with none.
Yeah. It's honestly, I don't think we can confidently predict any way that it could go. It could be anything. We have had a question come through, and this sort of relates to a bit about what we've been talking about, so I want to bring it up now. Drinky to Ponga. Turbo is my other fullback. I'm going to first of all come out and say for this, unless you are confident that Ponga's going to go like big 100s, like captainable scores, I wouldn't do it. Only because the trades are so precious at this time of year. I think Drinky is a great alternative with the way the Cowboys are starting to show a bit of form. I don't know if he'll go. He could put up a 120 or 130 at some point, maybe not a 150 like Ponga potentially does this week. But I wouldn't trade Drinky. I'd save the trade, but I don't know. What about you guys? What would you do? Would you trade Drinky to Ponga this week?
Cheesy, go first if you like.
Nah, not this week. I mean, they're coming up against a pretty deflated Broncos team into the Raiders, and then the bye. So I'd look more around that round 25 when Ponga is coming up against Rabbits. It just makes more sense. You miss out on Drinky's tough matchups. Yeah, unless you think Ponga's going to outscore Cleary by a mile, I wouldn't be doing it.
Yeah.
Yep. If I had the trades, it'd be around 25 move. When Drinkwater's on the bye. Ponga's his last two games are at home, I believe. I think in 25 they're away to South. So, I mean, even that's still tasty, but you'd have to have the trades. You'd have to be sure. And at least it'd give you a couple of weeks to have a bit of a look at Ponga. But unfortunately, season could be over before it even gets to around 25. If Ponga comes out and unleashes the fury, then it's too late by round 25 if he comes out. And, if actually that's for anyone. If anyone goes 200 in a round, it's nearly season over if you don't have them. So not for me, not with one trade left. I'll be happy to stick with Drinky for a bit longer, I think. And, they've still got a few home games as well. So he could turn it on, against Brisbane this week. We know their history. So I'm hoping he turns it on this weekend as an owner.
Yeah, I wouldn't look, I don't think it's out of the realms of possibility entirely if Drinky actually outscored Ponga this week. I wouldn't be shocked if it happened because Drinky, as we've seen in the past, he's very capable of putting up, a 120, a 130, potentially even higher if he gets in a roll. And the Broncos have not looked good the last few weeks. They really haven't. And the Cowboys have it all to play for. So you never know.
Drinkwater went 135 on the weekend, and if a couple of passes stuck, not that didn't go forward or hit their mark, he's getting, closer to 175 Cleary type numbers. So, if he turns it on in a game, he can do it as well. But could be anything.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll move on to some of the other players that have just been, decimating our sides. So Eli Katoa, all reports seem to be indicating that he's not a long-term out. It's maybe just a 1 week resting just to get him right for, I guess, the run in. On that note, I'm assuming both of you would recommend he's a hold.
Yeah.
Just for a week. If it's just a week, Melbourne did this last year, though, didn't they? When he had the eye injury, they kept saying next week. So who knows? I'm afraid I don't trust coaches anymore. So I'll believe it when I see it. But he's going to stick around for me. Obviously, no trades. He's not going anywhere. He's the sort of guy you want in your second row. Anyone who can crack you 100 in that position is a keeper. If it's 1 week, great. If it's two, so be it. But he's not going anywhere for me.
Yeah. What about yourself, Cheese? Would you consider trading out Eli Katoa?
No, unless you got 5+, 6+ trades. Don't move him on. It's 1 week. If it turns out to be 2, 3, reassess then. But don't rush that trade out now.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. The only thing I would even consider him for is for people that are in really important head-to-head leagues. If you can, if you've got the trades there and you just need to grab somebody, just maybe as that point of difference in second row, I'd do it then. But yeah, if you're overall in any way, I wouldn't worry about it unless you are really, really desperate for numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the only reason why. Now we'll move on to the other positions. Now, in recent weeks, we've seen Ronnie Mulatalo go down. We've had a scare from Dom Young. The Roosters are obviously on the bye this week. Is there any names that jump out at you from CTW? As I guess like the big names that I've seen thrown around this week is people finally looking to bring in either a Lomax or a Karaz. Are the sort of the two names that I've seen as the big sort of trade-ins. Is there any other names that you guys look to see as like options in CTW? Anybody standing out to you? Flash, do you see any names in particular?
Maybe a To'o or someone like that. Again, Penrith have got a pretty tasty draw. They're not. They've got no buys left. So if he can get back to the way we know he can play, he'd be another one who would be a very, very handy asset to have on the way home, I reckon. Lomax was the one I was looking at. He's got Canberra Raiders in the last round, so he's a target for the Dragons attack. But they're the two main guys. I'm a Karaz owner. He's been good. His base is fantastic. So, and he's back on the right wing now with that O'Carr back. So, he should be all steams ahead, especially for the Bulldogs who are fighting for top 8, so top 4 actually. So, you can't go wrong with any of those three. It's a bit of a lotto, but price-wise, I don't know how they're all situated, but you couldn't go wrong with any of those three guys, I don't think.
Yeah. Cheese, is there any names that are immediately jumping out to you for who to bring in?
Yeah, look, if you've got for cash, you go Tor, I think. I mean, he's priced around the same as Kiraz, just 50k more. Yeah, you'd want a piece of that Panthers backline. You'd want Toto. If you're not concerned about restings, of course. If you are looking for that more available player, you'd go Kiraz, take the base, take the high ceiling in a few of these games. Yeah, I think Kiraz is better for your availability, but Toto is you're paying for at least a 60 with a possible 120 when he's getting that ball.
Yeah. Now, I am going to throw... There's one name that... And I was looking through a few things today, and there's one name that had jumped out to me as a super, super pod. If you need something just to give the point of difference in a head-to-head final or something crazy and you want to have just a swing, I'm going to read out a few stats for you, and then I'll see if you guys can guess who it is.
Mm-hmm.
So, in the last 4 rounds, he has... So this is a CTW. He is based 46, 34, 45, 45.
Oh.
In a team that is playing very, very well.
Yep.
Who do you think it could be? Cheese, we'll start with you. Who do you think this player could be?
In a team that's playing very, very well.
Yep. Say one of the big improvers for the year.
Sorry, mate. I just put him down.
No, it's all right. No worries at all.
Can't be Brian Kelly, Kenneth.
Close. Very, very close.
Are we talking about a different Titans player?
Yes, we are.
Oh.
The player is Philip Sammy.
Oh, he's been great lately.
He has been very, very good. I'll read his last 4 scores: 67, 74, 71, 102. So if anybody's out there that wants an absolute flyer, Philip Sammy, there you go.
And he's like this every year. Every year he gets a little tasty little run where he puts on fantastic scores. His work rate's great. He's always a try threat. Yeah, he's a sneaky one I'd like to own.
It's that time of year when the beer goggles come on, and he's a perfect 10 right now.
Yes, exactly right. Now, I'm just going to put a disclaimer. This is coming from somebody that's ranked 17,000. So take that as you will. But yeah, he's got the base. The Titans are playing well. I mean, you could do worse if you need something crazy to maybe win that head-to-head week 1 final or week 1 game. So if you've got the trades,
it's
maybe
not the
not.
Worst
maybe
shout at all. It's pretty good.
It's not the worst shout.
It's not.
So it's look, I want to hear from you guys as like one other. I guess like we'll talk about one other. Sorry, we'll talk about one other player that has unfortunately caught the injury bug. It has affected yourself, Cheese. Trindle, he started to show a bit of form. He looked like a decent little pod there for people that had brought him in. He's in a really tough halves position. It's yeah. What do you do? What are you thinking, Cheese? We'll start with yourself because it's obviously affecting you a bit more personally.
Yeah, look, he was out Monday morning because I have Campbell. I could play with the duels a bit, so he was the one going for KP. But from what I've seen, it seems like it's a 1 week thing from Fitzy's press conference. They're going to reassess it come obviously Wednesday and middle through of next week. But I mean, you don't want to trade him out for 1 week of resting when he's then coming up against Newcastle and then the Dragons and all the play goes through him. My only concern is with it being, a hamstring, that re-injury scenario, he may get rested in games where, points are piling on, or just even the games where he gets a 15-minute resting, thing like that, If you have duels to play with, it's a very easy trade out, in my opinion. If you can work KP to get in there, it's pretty much a straight swap. Otherwise, yeah, I mean, I'd even be looking at Burton and just getting the availability in there.
Yeah, so I'm guessing that you had Trindle in 5'8". Is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
Yeah, it's a very, very tough position this year. We've seen that all year. It's really tough. And I guess if you need to pot up, I think that's probably it's an opportunity because I don't think there's any 5'8s that are immediately jumping off the page as must-haves. I mean, look, Cameron Munster's just come back. He's not the worst shout. I personally don't think I'd go there just because he's been so injury prone and injury affected all year. I'll read out the top 5 names and I'll see of what current average is actually. Sorry, no, I'll go top 6 to see what you think. And there's a 7th I think could be a sneaky shout if things go his way. So yeah, number 1, Trindle was the top average in 5'8" recently with his 3-round average of 90. Then you've got Galvin, Cody Walker, Luke Brooks, Dylan Brown, Max Plath, and then Jerome Luai. So the names are not
jumping
attractive. Off as they're not attractive names. So it's I think holding I think is your best bet. See if somebody comes back, and if he comes back next week, that's great. Is there any names there though that if you had to trade him that you'd be looking at? Flash, is there any 5'8s that I guess are jumping off the page that
not really
grab in?
Oh, look, I'm a JC at 5'8", Truther. I'm happy to have him there. 5'8's been an ordinary position all year. I owned Brown from the start, and he just plodded along. He didn't do anything fantastic, but he didn't really hurt me either. So, and a lot of the positions have been like that. Burton is my other 5'8". Waiting for him to find his mojo with Kikau or anyone really, but they've been playing with a lot of different shape where Sexton's been taking a lot of the plays off him. So it's been hurt him a little, but a lot of the teams are like that. Munster just coming back. If I was going to grab one, it would be him. But, he's missed enough football. I don't know that he gets rested. But none of those other names really jump out. Luai, not really. With Cleary back now, he's going to take most of the plays away. Brooks, I was a Brooks owner earlier in the year and moved him on, but he could be a sneaky one with Manly, what they've got coming up. But
shout out to Mr. Charity, number 1 Luke Brooks fan in all of coach. I think he could potentially still own him from the start of the year.
But no, there's not one jumping out. It's a great position to just have a swing for the fences. If you are ranked, say 17K or something like that, you could have a swing at anyone, just whoever takes your fancy. Just why not have a bit of fun with it? It's been an awful position all year, so it's whoever takes your fancy.
Yeah, it does just seem like one of those positions. I don't know if there's anyone out there that looks like they're going to hurt us. There probably will be. Somebody just maybe puts together a couple of hundreds, but
Yeah.
who knows who that is? It could be anyone. So, yeah, it could be that position that, like we saw last year with with Manly just going bananas for those last few weeks. Maybe there's a 5'8" that it just goes crazy. Who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe it is Brooks.
Yeah, maybe it is. He has got one of the better draws, so I will give him that. Out of all of those sort of 5'8" that are playing well at the moment, or from a super coach perspective, he's probably got the best draw.
Yeah.
So you never know. You never know.
You watch Tyson Gamble show everyone up now.
Yeah. It's wouldn't that be something if it's bloody Tyson Gamble? But yeah.
I'm gonna make him look like prime Wally Lewis.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, I'm getting in Ponga.
Anyway, look, I think we've covered pretty much all of the big positions that I think we're sort of on the talk about this week. So we'll dive into a couple of questions. We've covered one of them already from, I guess we've sort of covered one from the hub earlier today. So that was, Turbo or Punga, which way do you go? The other question that we got through was if you had to sell one this week, Dom Young, Eli Katoa, Trindle, who would you sell? It's a tough one, Cheese, because this affects you a little bit more than most.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Who out of those three, if you had to trade one, would you trade?
Oh God, I think it'd have to be Young, just because you have more options in CTW to play with.
Yeah.
You know, some people still don't have homes because they traded him, never going back in. There's that. Kiraz, 2RF is I mean, it should be pretty stacked right now. Your 2RF, I think it's been one of the positions people have built up throughout the year, so you should be fine there. Yeah, it has to be Dom Young just for the options to go to. Everywhere else is pretty much a wasteland.
I would go with Katoa out. I think Trindle and Young are two high upside positions who, you need to keep those runs home. There's a lot of guys like Katoa and Nakora types or Olakawatu, those sorts of ones. If you've got those, and Fafita, you could run those. And if Katoa was, so be it to miss out. But I would hang on to Dom Young and Trindle, especially with Sharks, what they've got coming up. Him goal kicking, you'd hope he could crack the odd 100 for you if you're lucky. Young in that Roosters side with what they've got as well. Look, we know what he's done previously. I think he's already got a 150 plus this year. So I'd keep the high upside positions. I would get rid of Katoa.
Yeah, and for me, I'd probably go, if I had to go with one, I'd probably go Dom Young as well. For two reasons. I think a lot of people have got lots of Roosters. So it would, one, help this week, obviously, with him on the bye. And it kind of, if the Roosters I don't think they will, but if they just somehow throw up a stinker or they rest a bunch of players, I think he could be somebody that could be affected by that. And as Cheese said, there are a lot of options in CTW that I quite like. So that's why it's more so for me, it's not so much who you trade out, it's who you trade them to. And as we just said, Trindle is clearly the top averaging 5'8" at the moment. Eli Katoa, I would put in the top 3 CTW. As we sort of said earlier, this podcast, he's one of the few that I would actually be I would think they could score 100. So for me, those two I would keep and sell Dom Young. But that's also on the fact that I think Trindle is probably, or both of ECAT and Trindle are only 1 week. So cop this week, unless you're in like a must-win head-to-head final or game, like cop the 1 week for the other two guys, most likely, and trade Dom Young.
Could actually swap Katoa for a centre if you had the duels as well. If you had someone like a Dylan Lucas or someone sitting there as well. So yeah, it's quite possible. Jamin Salmon was one I had this year. Was very handy. You could flip him up and down, and it was. I recommend that have one of those every year. A second row forward centre dual guy that you can swing around to get those cheap guys, because you got to get them in to get the cash.
Yeah, no, you make a really good point there, Flash. Is just have a look at your team, because it might be with between duels. You might have an opportunity that isn't immediately obvious. So, for example, and look at your matchups. Like, let's say you are playing head-to-head games, and you go, you know what? This is the player that might get me that leg up on the others. Like, maybe you could go an Ikatoa to something like a Barnett, who's just absolutely killing it at the moment, and is like that sort of guaranteed point of difference that's going to really put pressure on the other player, because they'll go, oh crap, now maybe they don't need to have a swing at some random CTW because that's all they can grab, because you've put that sort of scoreboard pressure on them. So that's the kind of way I'd also look at the trade. So it's team dependent, but yeah, I guess see what works best for you and for your situation.
Flexibility is key in your teams. If you're going to do super coach, you need that flexibility. You can't limit yourself in your options. You got to leave everything on the table. So, you need that flexibility as well.
100%. So, as we sort of start to wind down, we'll start talking a bit about trades and captaincies. So, me personally, as I've alluded to in this podcast, I have one trade left. It is Ryan Pappenhausen out, who has stunk it up for me the last few weeks. He's a bit of a bust.
Did he get 11 last week? Did I see? Oh my god!
Don't want to think about that too much. That being said, I will forgive the flying logs. He is my favorite player to watch in the NRL when he's at top form. So he's doing us all a favor. He's making himself cheap for next year. That's what it is.
True.
What a good man.
Yeah, what a good man. Ponga in. He's also going to get my captaincy this week, because as we talked about it a bit in the green room, and we might as well put it out there. I think this is a very, very good week to look at the VC loophole. So it'll be VC Cleary, C Ponga. You might get a free swing at it with this all being lower numbers. So I pretty much can. I think I've got 18 or 19 at most that I'm playing with. So that's where I'm looking at it. What about you guys?
Yep, I'm all for that. Swing at Cleary. If anything happens, obviously we don't want to see HOAs and that sort of thing. We want them to stay out there. But, it's a local derby against the Eels. I know we have been atrocious lately, so I'm fully expecting us to get flogged. But you never know. Local derby, we might fire up.
The Eels always get up against the game against Penrith. They always get up.
We've got a pretty good record against them recent times, so fingers crossed that could happen. But yeah, VC free swing. If he does fail, then obviously you're ahead of the game by being able to use someone else like a Ponga or a Turbo. Both going to be very scary captains this week. So it'll be a VC swing at Cleary for me.
What about yourself, Cheese? Where are you looking?
I think I'm jumping on a Ponga bandwagon.
I feel like
we've talked him into it.
I'm looking at it and I'm just going, as a Sharks fan, it's probably good for my health if I don't have to root for Trindle and I just go with the flow and help we win games, even if it doesn't go for him.
Get Will Kennedy.
I think I'm going Trindle to Ponga via JC. I mean, I was going to keep that trade for Hughes, whether it's round 26 or 7. But I'd only be able to go up to, a Willison or someone anyway. So I'd rather take the high upside with Ponga than take an extra 10 points on Willison. We're doing the trade now. Yeah, we're going Ponga. I'll be going. Yeah, we'll be going VC Cleary because I think they could very well score very similar. And if Cleary does go berserk, it's a pretty easy VC loop, I'll be going VC Cleary. It's just they either end up very similar or Cleary goes 160 and VAE won't matter.
Yeah. So is there any other names that I guess you think there's a shout of scoring particularly well this week? Like I quite like some Cowboys as a potential VC as well, or a C, because I think they might put a bit of a score on the Broncos. The Broncos' defense has been not great over the last few weeks, and they're starting to look like they're ready for a Bali holiday come first week of finals in the NRL. So I wouldn't be surprised to see somebody like maybe a Drinkwater put up a big score. So I don't hate that as a shout, as a bit of a crazy option, but yeah, that's probably it for me. What are you about you guys? Do you know any and is there anybody else that you can see that might go big, do you think?
Cheese, you go this one first.
Yeah, look, I don't mind Turbo as a shout. I mean, Canberra, 4th worst against fullback, so I really don't mind that for Turbo. But they're one of those teams where you just don't know which, it's a top 4 Canberra side that turns up or bottom 4. Could go either way. I do like Kira as well as a bit of a pod play, just coming up against Dragons. If Bulldogs on their day, they could probably put about 40 on him. So if you're looking for maybe just a little pod, he could be a good shout.
Yeah.
Yep, I'm down with that. Kiraz is on the non-Lomax side, so I don't know which side the Dragons concede most of their tries, but Kiraz against, is it Tui Piloto or someone maybe he might be against? He's a good one. Holmes obviously did well last week against the Broncos, like you said. He could teach Katoni a lesson. I'd be Drinkwater. If I was going to VC Cleary, I would be captaining Drinkwater if that was to fail. Other than that, no one really jumps to mind. Harry Grant looked a bit better last week, playing South this week, first game. He might be a sneaky one to crack 100, but obviously you'd rather those guys that could go a little higher than that, I think.
Yeah. All right. I think that just about does us this week. We've covered everything that I wanted to have a chat about. So thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you.
Flash,
Thank you.
We'll say it's in relation to you chasing down Myth. Look, he is one of our favourites here at the SC Hub podcast. So I hope it goes well for both of you. We'll go a draw so you can split the cash. How's about that?
Sounds good. I'll take that.
What a great answer.
Very good.
Right.
Thanks, anyway. Thanks for having me.
No worries at all. So yeah, best of luck everybody with your Supercoach for the rest of the year. There will be more carnage. So if you can somehow save a trade or whatever somewhere, go for it. But let's all hope that KP does his job for us all, as with the armband on him, and scores great. I believe Mr. Charity will be back with his Thursday reviews tomorrow night in the lead up to the game. So jump on there if you've got a chance to. If you're also not in the Discord, jump in. I know a lot of the content is starting to look at getting together for NBL, all the other stuff coming in the off season. So that'll just get bigger and better as the seasons approach. So we've got channels for those. So jump in, get involved with those. I know that the FPL chat's already started. That's only 2 weeks away. So yeah, there's plenty there if your Supercoach season is on life support like mine. But anyway, enjoy the footy this week. May we not get any more injuries, and have a good one.
Thanks, guys. Good luck, everyone.
See you guys.